What's up guys, Perry from Rockville here, and today I'm going to show you how to set up your RCM03. So as you can see, it comes with the condenser mic itself. It also comes with an attachable pop filter that we can add to the microphone. There's also a shock mount so we can set up the mic onto a mic stand. We also got an XLR cable to connect the mic to an interface or mixer, and we also have an XLR to 1/8 inch cable to connect the mic into anything with an 1/8 inch mic input like a PC. So first let's talk about how to attach the microphone to a mic stand like this one here. To do that, I'm going to grab the included shock mount here. Keep in mind that there's this knob here on the side so we can adjust the position of the shock mount. So for right now, I'm going to loosen it up and set it straight so that it makes it easier to attach to my mic stand. Then I'm going to line up the threading here of the shock mount to the threading here on the mic stand and just screw it in like this. Again, I'm going to use this knob here to even out my shock mount to that position. And to attach my microphone, I'm going to use these clamps here on the front of the shock mount. So I'm going to squeeze them together to open it up. Then I can take my microphone and slide it in just like this. So the next thing I can do is attach the included pop filter to reduce the plosive sounds when recording vocals like your P's, T's, K's, etc. To do that, we're going to take a look at the back of the pop filter here, and you'll see these two knobs on the back. So we're actually going to loosen them up until they're completely off. From here, we're actually able to remove the back of the pop filter here. So I'm going to pull it out, and then you see that leaves the front piece available. So now I'm going to take the front of the pop filter and line it up to the front of the microphone just like that. So once that's all set, I'm going to take the back piece of the pop filter and feed it onto the other side. Then you're going to take the two knobs that we took off earlier and line them up to the screws on the back of the pop filter, and then just tighten these knobs all the way so that the pop filter is secured to your microphone. So now that our mic's all set up, we can now connect it to our interface or mixer so we can get to recording. So for my recording setup today, I'm using our very own Rockville Mini interface. I also have my Mac here, and I'm using the DAW GarageBand, but keep in mind you're gonna follow these steps for whatever interface, computer, or DAW that you plan to use. So to connect my microphone to the interface, I'm going to take the included XLR cable. I'm going to plug this female end into the microphone. Then I'm going to plug the other end into the XLR input on my interface. Now the Rockville Mini only has one XLR input listed as channel 1. So keep in mind if you're using an interface that has more than one XLR input, you can use any of those inputs, but just make sure that you keep track of which channel goes to where. So you can follow these same steps, and it doesn't matter if you plug it into input 2, input 3, input 1, totally up to you, but we're gonna also wanna keep that in mind for when we set up in our DAW, and we're gonna circle back to that in just a bit. So before we get to recording, we actually recommend double checking the sound settings of your computer and making sure that the input and output device is set to the interface you're using. So on my Mac, I'm gonna go into the system preferences, then I'm gonna go into the sound tab. So from here we have two windows for the input and output setting. So starting with the input window, we're gonna look for the device that reads Rockville Mini so that we can select the interface to be used as our input device. Then we're gonna hop over to the output window and do the exact same thing. Look for the device that's called Rockville Mini and click on it so that we use the Rockville Mini as the output device. And we also recommend you do this for your DAW. So on GarageBand, I'm gonna go into the preferences window, go to the audio and MIDI settings, and then from there we have two tabs for the output device and the input device. And just like we did earlier, we're gonna set the Rockville Mini as our input and output device. So on both these tabs, we can click on the drop down here. Then we're gonna look for the device that reads Rockville Mini, and make sure you do that for both the input device and the output device. Now another thing to keep in mind is that condenser microphones like the RCM03 require phantom power in order to work. So on your interface, you should have a button or a switch to activate phantom power or plus 48 volts. On the Rockville Mini, that switch is on the back, listed as plus 48 volts. So we're gonna wanna make sure to flip that to the on position. So the next thing we can do is go to our DAW and create a new audio track. We're then gonna look for this input section here and make sure that we're using the correct input. So again, because I'm using channel 1 on my interface, I'm gonna want to use input 1 here as my input. And again, keep this in mind in case you're using a different input on your interface. For example, if you have your microphone plugged into input 2, you're gonna wanna select input 2, etc. So once that's all taken care of, we can press create. Then we can raise the gain knob for our microphone. And after you set the gain, you'll see that the microphone is picking up signal through this meter here on our track. And this is actually something we want to pay attention to because we don't want the signal coming in too hot, so we can avoid distortion or clipping. So for example, the higher I raise the gain for channel 1, check 1, 2, check 1, 2, you'll see that we now get into the yellow/red area, and this will mean that our audio could clip or distort. So to avoid that, we either want to lower the gain for channel 1, and if that's not enough to lower the signal, most interfaces come with a pad button, which will lower the signal even more. So that's another way you can avoid getting into that clipping territory, and then from there you can use the gain knob to your liking. And once that's all set, we can get to recording.
So this would be a great setup for recording vocals, podcasts, audiobooks, and much more.
Now for you PC users out there, remember that we also have the XLR to 1/8 inch cable, so you can use that if you want to plug in your microphone to your computer or anything else that has an 1/8 inch mic input. And from there, you're gonna go into the sound settings for your computer and DAW. Make sure that you have the input and output device set to the appropriate settings. And you'll also follow the same steps when it comes to creating the track in your DAW. Now you can bring your studio setup to the next level by getting our very own ISO box here and setting it up with your RCM03. If you need help setting up your ISO box, we have plenty of videos to help you out, so be sure to check them out. So to set up our microphone to the ISO box, we're gonna start by taking the shock mount for the mic and we're gonna screw it on to the threading here inside of the ISO box, just like this, and we're gonna screw it on to lock it in place. Don't forget we have this knob here on the side of the shock mount, so we can loosen it up to position the shock mount just like this so that it's nice and level. Next thing we're gonna do is set up our microphone. Now I decided to keep the pop filter that came included on the mic like this, but you don't have to keep this attached. If you want to take it off, you totally could and set up a different pop filter to the ISO box, but like I said, we're gonna keep the included one on for right now. So to attach my microphone, I'm gonna go to the shock mount here, and I'm gonna pinch on these clamps on the front of the shock mount. So now I can take my microphone, slide it in just like this, and now we're all set. The next thing we can do is take our microphone cable and feed it through the bottom of the ISO box so that we can connect the mic to our mixer or interface. So to do that, we actually have 2 openings here on the bottom of the ISO box that have big enough space to feed our cable through. So we're gonna take the female end of our cable and feed it through one of these openings here. And as I do that, you'll see the female end of our cable pop up through the box. And now from here, we can just connect it to the microphone just like that. Then we can connect the other end to our interface or mixer, close up the ISO box, and now we're all set. Now let's say we wanted to use our condenser microphone with a piece of equipment that doesn't have phantom power built in, like any interface, mixer, or our powered speaker here. There is a way we can do that with the PSP5. The PSP5 provides that phantom power, or 48 volts needed, to power our microphone so that we can use it with our powered speaker or any interface or mixer that doesn't have phantom power built in. So the first thing we can do is connect our microphone to the PSP5 with an XLR cable. We're gonna connect the female end to our mic. Then we're gonna plug the other end into the XLR input here on the PSP5. And now we have to connect the PSP5 to our powered speaker. So to do that, we'll take another XLR cable, connect the female end into the XLR output of the PSP5, then plug the other end into the XLR input of our powered speaker. So now we can go ahead and power on our PSP5. and then power on our powered speaker. But before you do that, we recommend having the volume on your powered speaker all the way down to avoid any feedback. So now that we have everything all set, we can start to bring in the volume here for our powered speaker. Check 1, 2, check 1, 2. So now you should be able to hear my voice coming through, letting us know our mic is powered and ready to go. And remember, you can use the PSP5 and follow these steps if you want to use this microphone with any interface or mixer that doesn't have phantom power built in. So hopefully this showed you guys how easy it is to set up your RCM03. But of course, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to reach out to our customer support team through phone or email. As always, I'm Perry from Rockville, and we'll see you guys next time.